Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and joining me once again is my beautiful and intelligent co-host, Amanda Salvatore. Amanda, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing much better after an intro like that, so thank you.
What can I say? I know how to introduce somebody. So tell me, who did you interview for this episode, and what did you guys talk about?
Today we have Tiffany Martin Peters, who is the president of North by Northwest Landscaping, located in Austin, Texas. She joined her family business after college and built their office from the ground up, literally. We also talk about her journey implementing Aspire for the company during their busy season. It's an incredible story, and Tiffany was an amazing guest.
I cannot wait to listen. Let's jump right in.
Tiffany Martin Peters, you are the president of North by Northwest Landscaping, located in Austin, Texas. And today we are going to be discussing building your office and implementing software under pressure. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to get into it with you. But first and foremost, we always start with a little bit of an icebreaker so we can get to know you even better. And I know you're a big music lover. So what would you consider to be your current theme song for this time in your life?
So Cameron Marlowe is an artist that I've been recently following, and he has a song that is called Nothing Slowing Us Down. And really like the mantra of it, if you will, is even though life is crazy busy and you're going 100 miles an hour, try to balance it all. Just continue to move forward. Even if it's one step at a time, just as long as you keep going forward. Yeah, I have 3 kids. I have a husband and running the family business. There's a lot going on, but you just got to take it one step at a time.
I love that. Yeah, you got to find your balance. That sounds like a great song. I can't wait to check it out. We mentioned the family business, but I would love to know, what was your journey to where you are today?
It is a family business. It's my parents' business. I didn't grow up in the industry per se. My dad had opened up the company in 2003, so I was in 8th grade at the time. And it was really just my dad. He took over my middle brother's mowing customers and kind of just grew it from there. My brothers have always been a part of the business kind of from the beginning. They did take some hiatuses, if you will, but always eventually found their way back. It was kind of always like a presumed notion that I would be a part of the company, but it was never really like stated. And funny story is actually in college, I went to Texas State here in San Marcos. I majored in consumer affairs with a minor in business, and I needed to do like an internship. And so I was like, well, might as well go do it with my dad, why not? But that did not go well. And I actually told my dad that I didn't want to work for him. It was just not something that I envisioned my life working with family all the time. Love my family to death, but do I want to work with them and make that my career? So told my dad I didn't want to work for him. I didn't really know what I was going to do either way. So after college, I actually moved to Houston, Texas with the person I was in a relationship at the time. But I would still talk to my brothers every now and then. My oldest brother, Jordan, would call me occasionally and try to convince me to leave Houston, come back home. We really need someone answering the phones and running the office. And I was just like, ugh, I don't do that. I don't want to work for you. I'm not your assistant. But life has a funny way of telling you otherwise. And about 6 months later, I was pregnant and essentially single at that point. And I messaged my mom on Facebook Messenger, can I move back home and stay with you? And she, of course, was like, sure. Moved back home with my car, my 2 dogs, and all of my belongings, and stayed with my parents. And of course, at that time, I announced to them that I was pregnant. And that was a fun conversation. They still needed help answering the phones and on the office side of things. So I was living and working for my parents at their house. And that's how I started back in 2014.
Oh my goodness. So you walked into this and there was a lot that needed to be done. in this
Yes.
office. It was just you. From my understanding, it was just you, some paperwork, and Excel.
Yes. And so when I first came on board, really, it was my dad that was doing sales. Both of my older brothers were still crew leaders out in the field. So literally, it was just me with my dad popping in and out or calling the phone. And so my onboarding was my dad, which
Yeah.
is really funny because I mean, we argued growing up with him helping me with my math homework. But then my dad, who is a boomer, teaching me everything that he knew on QuickBooks, and they have a CAD program for irrigation design, and just everything that he was doing, he just showed me. And so from there, it was really up to me to either build upon it or just keep it the same. As a someone who likes to put my stamp on things, I was like, no, why are you doing it this way? We should do it this way. And just kind of built on it over time and what was going to fit best for what we needed.
I would love to know, when you're building this office system
Mhm.
from the ground up, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced with that process, especially when it was this old school environment, if you will?
So when I again entered into the business in 2014, the revenue was about $1 million. So they were operating it pretty well what we were doing. And it's kind of the mindset of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But it's also keeps you stagnant. If you're not improving your processes with the times, even just with technology, you're going to be left behind in the dust because everybody else is keeping up with the times and what's new, whether it's, can I pay online? Is there a customer portal? Who can I talk to? The biggest challenge really is just the lack of knowledge. I only know what I know. I went straight from college to essentially running this office without having any office manager office. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. I barely knew a lot about plants at the time. And so really just the lack of knowledge was the biggest challenge. And also what works for me might not work for everybody else. We all have different learning styles and different leadership styles and all of those things. So again, trial and error, because what might work for my brother Jordan might not work for my brother Adam, but I still need to get the same end result.
It must be difficult to navigate a family dynamic when you're also navigating a new position or a new role, and really trying to establish processes.
Yes. Working with family in general is, not for the faint of heart. It's definitely like a love-hate relationship situation. And so being able to like have your indifferences, but being able to like move on and get past it and move forward is very important. So, a lot of it is putting your personal feelings to the side. My dad once said that being offended is a choice, versus I could have taken that constructive criticism and been like, got it. Okay. So I can do XYZ better for you next time. Right. Or, shift gears or make it a collaboration. So really putting my lack of knowledge and not taking it personal. And still to this day, I still have to do it. It's a never ending thing.
It's this constant reminder of like, I'll take the note, thank you,
Yes.
and not taking it as a personal attack. It's hard.
Right.
It's hard to navigate, though, to be fair. So I commend
Mhm.
you for that. And it's tough. It's tough. So I know you said previously that you like to kind of put your own stamp on your projects. So when you were building this office, especially in the beginning, what is a process that you put in place that really feels personal to your style?
So one of my biggest accomplishments is probably the processes that we've built on for our production home division. And it's our busiest division. We're working for those big companies, Pulte, Harry Homes, Toll Brothers, Ashton Woods. And so it's a very busy world out there. I mean, it's construction, right? And as landscapers, we're the very last, one of the very last pieces of a project, just from beginning to end. Okay, so from receiving the job from the builder or from the customer, and then okay, what do you do with that? Okay, I put it on the calendar. Now what? How do I get that information to the crews? How do I get that information to the builder? How do I receive that money? And job costing and P&L and efficiency, all of those things really were just from hands-on experience. And okay, this didn't work for a minute. What can we do differently? And so it's not something that like I'm gonna say I did it myself and me pat myself in the back. No, it was definitely like a team effort of I think I should run it this way, but I know the office end of things. What happened in the office end of things might not be completely true out in the field. And so finding that disconnect is very difficult. And so I found myself, sure, I can do this in the office all day long, but I need to get out in the field because I need to know, is what I'm saying how you should process this install, is that even real life? Because I don't know if that's real life. Um, it is on the computer.
Yeah. There is a bit of that disconnect if you don't know
Mhm.
what they're seeing versus what you're seeing.
Right. And really how that kind of all happened is once Jordan, my oldest brother, he came into the office first and started doing sales while my other brother, Adam, was still out in the field. When he was doing sales, he would meet with customers. They would they would need a landscape design. And so my brother would go and put it on the computer. Eventually, we were just getting so busy that he wasn't able to do it on the computer. So I was just like, okay, here, show me what you know how to do. And then what does the customer want? And I'll try to put it on the computer for you, get a takeoff so that you could put together the estimate. Over time, it just came out to be I was the one going out there and meeting with the customer, asking them questions for their landscape design, and then taking it back, putting it together on the CAD program all the way to creating the estimate, implementing the project, and project managing it all the way through. And then, of course, here I am invoicing you as well. But really, those hands-on experience really helped me understand real life instances rather than just in the office. Even with landscape design, like at the beginning, I had no idea what this plant was, what that tree was. I just like that's pretty. But now, over time, and just like doing research or, recognizing the same plant over and over, I now have like this internal database, if you will, of plants that I know are going to work well. And so I have that experience now of in the office, but also in the field to a certain extent.
Yeah. It sounds like you found this gap in your education and you decided to go and find out for yourself what you needed to learn, which I think that is just so impressive to be able to see your shortcomings or where there are gaps and being able to work through them for the betterment of the company. That's really good work. I would love to now discuss a little bit about your implementation of Aspire. There's a very popular blog on our site with your story with the company. But if you could tell us that experience for those who haven't read that article, I would love to hear it because it's really inspiring.
We onboarded Aspire, signed the dotted line in March. We went 100% live in July, which here in the southern states is like prime time. Like you
And
were crazy.
I read that
Trying to
and
do.
that's what I thought when I was like, I'm sorry, when did you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, so the article kind of goes into like, okay, why did we choose that time? And it really wasn't choosing a time. We were just so sick of working so hard and having our net profits not show that enthusiasm as well. And we were just like, okay, what's going on here? We're working really hard, we're really busy, our revenue is there, but at the end of the year, we're looking at the end numbers and we're like, what happened? It was getting very cumbersome because we just had this app for this calendar for that. And we were just navigating all these different softwares, trying to make it work with our existing processes at the time. And it was just becoming too much. We had heard about Aspire for quite some time, but we knew that it was going to be a pretty big swing. And so, honestly, for the longest time, I was the one stopping from signing on with Aspire because I was just not sold on the idea that this one program would help us excel to the next step. But over the course of after COVID, again, we were really busy. We were doing really well. We hired consultants to kind of help us figure out what we were lacking. What are we missing to get to be a profitable company? It really just came down to, okay, we just need to do it, because at this point, there's no other program out there that's going to fit our needs unless we want to stick with 8 different programs for the same thing. It was really just, let's do it. Why wait? Why are we going to wait until our slower season, which is in the winter, which is technically for us Southerners isn't really a slow period. It's slower, but it's not dead. So we just did it. Looking back on it now, I laugh at myself. I'm like, dude, there's no way. If someone came to me today and was like, hey, let's completely change all of your softwares, I'd be like, you are out of your tree. Are you going to do it? Because I already done it a few times. So thank you. But, the longer you wait, really, the more money you could possibly be losing because you're afraid to pull the trigger. Because we mostly struggled with our construction division. Our maintenance division, as far as softwares goes, was easy to find multiple softwares that could work. But in our construction division, that was really the harder part, making it jive with our processes. Because again, the processes that we built, especially for our production home builder, is not a run-of-the-mill process, right? It's not like someone tells you, oh, you should do it this way. Like with maintenance contracts, they're all kind of generally the same. They're X amount of visits, they include irrigation audits, XYZ. And so it was like, okay, my maintenance division is running on this program, but my construction's on this one. But we have this one accounting program. And it was just missed opportunities and missed billings were a real thing because we were just so busy, but didn't have a central software.
I'm sure like getting onto Aspire and having everything all in one place, so you can really look at the business holistically and see where there may be gaps. But I would love to know, what about Aspire was a game changer for you guys?
Having instant data, because we were able to do project costing, but it would be after the fact. What is that going to do? Okay, cool. I realized that now 2 months later, now that we have all the receipts in, all the hours allocated and everything, 2 months later, okay, that job was a loser. We lost money on this one. Okay, but how am I going to affect that for my future jobs? We were always behind on just getting the data in. So the way Aspire, I could literally look at today, even though the job is not complete, I can know whether or not we're on target without having to wait for this vendor's receipt or for this person to clock out. Whatever, I can know that, hey, we're at 50% of the hours so far. And, after talking to my project manager, we have about 40% left of the job already. Cool, great. Really, the biggest changer for me was not having to micromanage to get information. The article goes into when I gave birth to my second born, I was literally like working still in the hospital. And so that article was actually written 2 years ago. I have now had a third child. He's now 4 months old. And I had Aspire with this one, but I was actually able to take, I'm not going to say a true maternity leave, because when you're an owner operator, you don't get to take off. But I didn't return to the office until 3 months. Had I done that with my firstborn when I was still working in my parents' office, or a parent's house, or even with my newborn 2 years ago, like there was no way because we didn't have the processes or the software in place where I could trust but verify from afar. I had to literally be in the office looking at data to just know what was going on. And so just having that easeability, is that word? and
I like it.
and
I'm here for
yeah,
it.
it works. The easeability of just looking at things from afar without having to be in the weeds has really just been a huge game changer. Huge.
I love that Aspire allowed you time with your family, quite
Mhm.
literally, with your new baby.
Literally.
And that's truly, that's what it's about. When I hear those kinds of stories, I'm like, and that's why you do it. Not only are you efficient, not only are you seeing gaps and being able to really look at your business and assess what you need to do, but you're also getting time back for your maternity leave. That is wild to me and just pays for itself, truly. What would be your advice to someone who is in the weeds right now and is hesitant to implement a new software? That's a huge task. I know that you said before if someone approached you again, you would still be pumping the brakes a little bit. So what would you say?
I'm a firm believer of if I'm going to ask someone else to do something, I need to know what the heck I'm talking about. So it was very important for me to be a part of the implementation so that I could fully understand and wrap my head around it so that I could delegate it to other people. So my biggest piece of advice is delegation, really, and asking questions. Even if you ask the question and you still don't get it, ask the question again, but just in a different way. And really rely on other people's expertise. Use your vendor for your supplies if you don't understand something. When it comes to like agronomics and chemicals, and I know it more than probably the average homeowner, but I don't need a PhD, but I have my supplier that has someone that has all of that knowledge. So let me pick your brain. How are you doing things? And really talking to other landscaping companies. One of the things when we were looking at Aspire was, hey, can we talk to someone that is similar to our company? Because not all landscape companies are the same. But can we talk to them to see, like, how did this change your life? And really, and now here I am in this position where people are asking me, hey, how did it change your life? And now I'm able to really actually fully explain it rather than being like, oh, yeah, yeah, sure, we got it. But if you want to know more about it, you should probably ask my office manager or ask my account manager. No, because I need to be completely sold on it just as much as my employees do. Finding out more and asking questions all day, every day.
I think that's excellent advice for business ownership, but also for life. If you don't
Mhm.
know, it's okay to ask.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
The
I love
the
that.
saying of there's no stupid question. There really isn't a stupid question, but if you're asking the same question over and over again, what are we doing wrong? Is it that you're not asking the right questions or you're not asking enough questions? When do you need this back from me? What's my deadline? Or what were you envisioning the outcome of this spreadsheet that you want done? Or whatever it is, asking questions and asking the right questions is very important.
This has been a great conversation. But before we go, I wanted to ask, is there anything you wish we discussed today?
I really kind of want to hone in on the women in green and the women in the landscape industry. I always laugh because when people meet me, they're like, oh, it's your husband's company. Oh, it's your dad's company. And I'm like, first of all, yes, it is my dad's company, but it wasn't just handed to me. As a woman in a men's industry, show your knowledge, right? And so that's where it kind of goes back to asking the questions. I'm only going to know what I know. And it's not like someone's going to come knocking on my door and be like, hey, Tiffany, do you want to know more about accounting? Do you want to know more about payroll and HR and just even about landscaping? No, that's going to require me to get out there, get out of my comfort zone and learn something that I don't know and, bring it back to the table and implement it back into the company. It's a little daunting, especially if you're the only woman in the room, or if you're with a bunch of your colleagues. And again, there's only like 2 or 3 women. It doesn't mean that you're any less, or you're not any smart. It just means that, you're going to stick out. So if I'm going to stick out, I'm going to stick out and be a leader in that aspect and not just a follower. And so I just encourage really any woman out there that finds themselves in either the landscape industry or any male dominated industry to, know that it is possible, and it's going to require some work, but man, it's definitely very fulfilling to know that I can also, hey, I can hang out with you guys too. As a matter of fact, might be able to run circles around you, but we'll see. I'll show you.
I love this mission. I love the idea of if I'm going to stick out, I'm going to stick out for all the right reasons. This is not about my gender. This is about what I'm actually capable of, and being able to showcase that, as opposed to sitting in the back seat and waiting for your turn. That's a great way of looking at it, and in a really empowering way to look at it. And I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. Absolutely. Tiffany, I want to thank you so much for a great conversation, and thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.